talking about some consideration ads. So Mitch, will you just give us a quick rundown, do a screen share of what we're talking about today?
Yeah, so like Ryan said, we're talking about consideration campaigns. And this is the next step past the awareness campaigns that we talked about. Really taking people down one step closer to that purchase or to that lead or to whatever it is that you're looking to accomplish. Consideration campaigns is going to be one step closer. The consideration campaigns, we'll get into Ads Manager and show you exactly where it is that we're talking about, but there's a lot of consideration campaigns, so we're only going to be getting through 2 today. We're going to go through the traffic objective and the engagement objective, and we're going to talk about what to use, which one to use out of those 2, when to use each one of those, and we're going to go through how to use it, and then we're also going to talk about what content to use in each of these objectives, because each type of campaign objective, you do need to be using a little bit different type of content.
Yeah, that's funny, Mitch. I like this. Before you dive into that Ads Manager, I want to talk about this little Marketunist. And there's a lot of truth to this. There's a lot of truth to the idea that a lot of times we determine where people are in the customer map or in the customer journey for them, versus asking them or really identifying where they are. We make assumptions that they're in a certain place and ready to buy, when in reality, they're only looking for something different. And one of the reasons we talk a lot about consideration campaigns in Facebook is because it's an interesting world of consumer behavior in today's environment. And quite honestly, it's getting more and more complex inside the world of Facebook ads to create conversions with a smaller ad budget than it has in the past. And we've heard this coming. We've heard that it was going to come. Big businesses are now trying to shift their marketing dollars and a large portion of their marketing dollars. And as a result, we're seeing that it is harder to get leads and generate sales for clients. Now, it's not that it can't be done. The reality is we have to take 2 thought processes behind it. The first one is, and one thing that we've made the mistake of on the front end, and I'll just be a little transparent here. One thing that we've made the mistake on for quite some time is, in some cases, sharing with our potential clients that there's an immediate result that comes from Facebook advertising. I want you to think about this in the forms of all traditional media. If you're running a radio ad for the first time, people don't know anything about you. They've never heard of you before, and you're running a radio ad. Do you think, or do we consider that radio ad to be as effective as the 75th time you've run the radio ad, that same radio ad campaign? I would suggest that it is not. I would suggest that the first time that your audience has opened up to the idea that you're advertising and marketing is going to be a lot different than the 75th time that your ad is being marketed and run. So consider, as we get into and dive into this conversation of consideration campaigns by using education, entertainment, and engagement, as we dive into these consideration campaigns, please be understanding that there's a lot of branding, which is why we talk about brand awareness on the front end. There may be a 3 or 4 or 5 month period that you're putting dollars into advertising before you even get to the place where you're starting to convert. And even we as an agency, we saw a lot of success initially with clients because the ad product was so new and because you could get conversions. Whereas today, where it's developing and it's increasing in cost per acquisition, we have to understand the long game of social media. Like, social media is not about baiting and switching people. Social media is not about jumping in and getting conversions right away. And we've had a tendency in the past to speak about that. And we've noticed some campaigns haven't worked as effectively as we anticipated that they were. And it's helped us have a paradigm shift of what are the things that the customer needs in this customer map or customer journey to drive them to success. So the reason I want to talk about this Marketunist little cartoon is, if you look at this, right? Awareness, interest, consideration, intent, evaluation, purchase, and loyalty. This is the customer map or the customer journey. consideration campaigns, when we'll dive in and talk a little about what to use and how to use it, or what type of content we need to use. Consideration campaigns are really going through and determining the interest, the consideration, the intent, and the evaluation. So recognize that that might be a 4 or 5 month process till you get to your first conversions. It may not be that long, but with that expectation and understanding, you just have to understand that the power and the value of social media marketing and advertising it's so powerful, but yet we treat it as if I should have results yesterday, and then we become frustrated in the process because we're not generating as much or as many leads and sales. And again, goes back to the traditional media, which we're all very familiar with when it comes to advertising marketing. The very first time you create a touch point with someone, you may not convert them to business right away. It might be the 20th or the 100th touch point. Same thing with belly-to-belly business. The first time I get to know about a company, I need to go through this awareness, interest, consideration, intent, and evaluation process in my mind subconsciously to get to a place where I'm willing to spend dollars with that company that's trying to capture my business. So I just want to reflect on that before we dive in. I want to set the infrastructure, the framework of this meeting to really help identify how we can create success, but also in our minds as marketers or as non-marketers, as business owners, that there has to be some patience in the prolonged process, because the return on investment is simply, there's immediate returns, right? And there's long terms, but the return on investment of marketing on Facebook is, people ask us the question all the time, what's the return on investment? Well, the return on investment is being able to speak to your clients. Where else in the world of online or offline is people's attention more than ever before? So if people's attention is there, we go there. And as long as we're communicating and connecting with the audience where they are, that's when we really start to drive additional success for businesses. So I just wanted to create that infrastructure and reflect back on our conversation about branding awareness. That's a key critical component of the process, which brings us now to consideration campaigns. All right, Mitch, take it away.
I just made a video yesterday on our page about that exactly. I compared it to working out. I did 1,000 push-ups, so you guys should go watch the video. But you can't just work out once and then expect results. And it is the same thing, just like Ryan was talking about with this. You got to keep at it for a while. And it varies a lot depending on the business. That's another thing to keep in mind. All right, so here we are. Last week we talked about awareness, so brand awareness and reach. Now we're moving over to this consideration category of ads. And make sure as we go along, type in questions, type in comments about what you've done in here. Type in if you've done traffic or engagement campaigns. Let us know. So let's start with traffic. Again, if you hover over here, then it tells you exactly what it is. Send more people to a destination on or off of Facebook, such as a website, app, or messenger conversion. Now, I'm going to add a little preface to that because it says on or off Facebook. We have just recently ran ads and we tried to run traffic ads to a destination on Facebook, and it does not let you. So that on or off Facebook, it's off of Facebook, such as a website or app. Messenger conversation, that's going to come down in a different objective. That's a relatively new objective, so that's why it's still in there. So basically, sending people to your website is, if we want to get right down to it. And traffic, it is optimized for link clicks. As you've heard us talk about, then Facebook has gotten really smart at the type of data they have. They track very, very well the type of people that take certain actions. So they have millions and billions and trillions maybe of dollars spent and of people sent to websites. So they know the type of person that clicks a link inside of Facebook to go to a website. And so when you click this traffic campaign, they're gonna, and you select your audience, then they're gonna say, okay, we have this audience, these females between 20 and 60 that you selected, whatever you select. And of those people, what are the people that are most likely to click the link? Which is super cool because it helps you get the most people to your website. Now, on the flip side of that, you need to be careful though, because depending on the type of content that you're sending them to, then you might get a lot of clicks, but you might not get a lot of conversions. Um, and in like 2 weeks, we'll get to the conversions campaign. But with traffic, that's one thing to keep in mind. And so the content, the context and the content that you're going to want to use with a traffic campaign is really, I mean, the best way to sum it up is just a blog post. If you have a piece of content where people can go to get more education, to consider more about your brand, then that is going to be the best time to use a traffic campaign. We're doing this right now. We're sending traffic to a blog post. And for one of our clients, we're getting clicks for, I think, like 20 to 30 cents. And then in this specific instance, and this is not a normal instance, but in this specific instance, then there's buttons inside of the blog post that say, hey, go get this free report or whatever it is. And so then people have now read the blog post. They have gone through the consideration campaign. Now some of them go down to the conversion metric inside of that blog post. And so that's why using a piece of content, an educational piece of content, a valuable piece of content, your content is not going to be a sales piece. The content is an educational piece that you're going to want to send people to.
Mitch, one thing that I came across today, which was quite interesting, is a guy that I know, a guy that I've followed in the world of social media. He runs ads as well, Facebook ads. And I clicked on I always love to pay attention to what people are doing from an ad set perspective, because as we analyze and learn, we can gain more traction. One thing that he did, which was quite unique, Mitch, and I know you kind of went through it, was he sent it to a questionnaire funnel and gave people the opportunity to kind of go down which journey they wanted to go down to figure out what was the best solution or the product offering that would fit for them. So I want you to think about this from a traffic perspective. And I want to take a step back and ask the question, when we talk about traffic, why in the world would we send someone to a website? We hear this all the time, like, I need to have a place where I can send people to. But why? Like, and exactly like what you said, Mitch, if you're sending them to a piece of education offline or in a blog post of some sort, make sure that you have a call to action inside of that, or you have something that you can give to that person. You spend a lot of money to get them to click on that. Once you take them somewhere, give them something, give them something of value so that they'll further engage with you and learn the processes more effectively. We have a tendency in general to think, I want to convert money without giving anything of value. And in today's world, it's a totally value play game where we have to give something first to build that relationship of trust. And I don't even know if it's fair to say in today's world. I think it's always been in the world of sales, I have to see if I can provide more value for someone and then lead them to the next step in that sales process. So traffic, and what Mitch is talking about, when you're talking about education, entertainment, or engagement, when you're doing a traffic consideration campaign, driving that traffic to a place where you can further give them education, further give them entertainment, or further give them in places or ways to engage with you. As you do that, it's just going to, in the mind of the consumer, recognize that user experience and help them feel more confident and even give more consideration towards doing business with you. Now, we all recognize that the world in general, of at least especially e-com world, but the world in general is open for competition more than it's ever been. If you're an online agency like we are, we compete not only with people in our local businesses or in our local area, but now we compete with the whole world. We compete with all the different social media advertising agencies that are all over the place. And what we're finding more and more often is that we have to get better at what we do. So when you talk about traffic, what are those things that are going to articulate to your customer or client that what are something you're doing that's setting you apart, or something that you're doing that's creating an additional benefit for them to be connected to you? Does that make sense?
I think it does.
Yeah, so drop a comment in here below, guys. If this is making sense to you, I'd love to hear like what your thoughts are about this whole world of value first before asking for something in return. People love to do business with those that they know, like, and trust, but if they don't know you, how can they know, like, and trust you?
Yeah.
And then if they don't go somewhere where you can build that know, like, and trust, then it makes it a little bit more complex. So anyway, keep going, man. Sorry.
I just want to add to your question that you posed of why would we send people to a website? I think an additional way to think about it, in addition to all of the things you shared, is if somebody sees your post, and they read this much text and they see a picture this big about you, right? Then that's a certain level of connection. We'll call it connection. But if they now come to your website and they see your, I mean, just clicking that button, it's a relatively simple thing, but it's still a commitment. It's a micro commitment to you, not to anybody else, to you. And then as they stay there, some percentage of the people are going to stay there and read your entire piece of content, which might take 2 or 3 or 4 minutes out of their day. So now that person that has engaged with you, engaged with that valuable piece of content that it needs to be, then now they're just that much farther along. They're going to be a lot easier to convert into a lead or a sale than somebody else that just saw the one picture of you or of your brand, about your brand. So let's dive in real quick and just take it to the next step of how you would set this up. So you're going to click on that. And we're going to walk through this real quick. This webinar is more about when to use this. And the next step is really, if you just take it slow, then you'll get through it. I'm going to turn off my video, so hopefully this will go a little bit faster. So you're going to want to come down and name your campaign objective. Now, there's no secret to naming except that you stay organized with it. I found in my life that everybody has a different method of organization. So use a naming convention that seems organized to you. Oftentimes, I'll do it like the month. So January traffic, or if I'm sending it to blog posts, I'll say January blog post. By January, I mean March, since we're in March. Whatever month you're in. And then the ad set is what is within the campaign. So the campaign is your objective. That's basically all you select. Ad set is where you select a lot of things. Your audience, your budget, your placements, everything. So you might want to name your ad set by the audience. So I might call this women 25 to 50. If that's my audience. You're going to send people to website. And then your audience. We talked about audiences way back. If you created your audiences, then you'll be able to just use this drop down, select the audience that you want. If you haven't done that yet, then you can come in and figure out your audience. So like I said, women 25 to 50. So I'm just going to select these drop down. I'm going to select women. And then we have detailed targeting. This is where you can add their interests. Let's see, we want to do parents. We actually want to do women that are parents between the ages of 25 and 50. So there's 20 million of those in the United States, just FYI, active on Facebook. So you can type in 100 things there. Go back to our video about audiences to get more information about that. And then placements. We typically edit placements. And as I'm showing you, you want to do this one step at a time and just take your time and read everything that it has. They have all of the information there. It's just sometimes our tendency, including myself, to go through it. You're going to want to run ads on Facebook by itself. You can run ads on Instagram separately, but for one ad set by itself, you're going to want to run on Facebook by itself. We typically take off Audience Network. I've been playing around with it again, but haven't had much success. And then your budget is the next thing down. So we have two choices here, daily budget or lifetime budget. There's no benefit to one or the other, especially when you're just starting out. There's no benefit to one or the other. You can go, depending on your ad account, you can go as little as $5 a day or sometimes $1 a day, depending on your ad account. And then you can set your schedule. Run my ad set continuously starting today or set a start and end date. Select your date, select your time. And then this last section, typically you can leave these alone. Optimization for ad delivery. That's just what do you want them to optimize for. Link clicks in this case is your best bet. So that's all the settings on there. Then you're going to hit continue. This is where you're going to create your ad. So you're going to name your ad. You're going to create ad. You're going to select your page. And then you're going to select your image, and then your website URL, and then your text. In a few weeks, we're going to dive into this part more. But that's the basics. I know that's a quick rundown, but we'll have the recording out to go through that step by step. And again, just as you look at it step by step, then you'll be able to follow it.
Mitch, go back really quick. When you're talking about the traffic part, when you first select it, actually it's on the campaign level. Sorry about that. Inside of here, once you actually select the objective, down at the bottom, you'll notice there's this create a split test using this ad campaign to test creative placement, audience, and delivery optimization. Just go over there on the little I part. So people have often asked, at least in conversations, they hear this word split test and they're not quite sure what it means or how it works. So maybe we can just take a quick minute and describe why we would do a split test or how we would position it to do a split test to get a better feel for, when would you split test and how. Mitch, can you kind of walk us through some of that right here?
Yeah, so I just set up a split test this morning. And so the concept of a split test is what is going to work best. And so you can split test everything. And at this level, what it's talking about is split testing your ad sets or basically audiences. So you want to see, okay, do women that are 25 to 50 that are parents work better? Or do women that are 25 to 50 that are, what's another characteristics? That are characterized as a soccer mom. There's a characteristics in there called a soccer mom. So which one works better to get people to click to come to my blog post? And that's what a split test is in this instance. Or the split test I set up this morning, it's for a real estate investment company. They're raising funds for a real estate project. Super cool in Arizona. If you live there, you should check it out. But there's a lot of different ways to reach the person that we think is the right type of person. The general right type of person is somebody who's interested in investing, and they live in Arizona. And so I had three subsets of people. I had one subset of people they were based on behaviors that Facebook has characterized. They are likely to be an investor of some sort. And then I had another one that based on their behaviors, they're likely to be specifically a real estate investor based on behaviors. And then I had another one that was based off of being interested in real estate. And so all of these audiences are different ways different attempts to reach the right person. And so we're going to split test these against each other to see which one produces the most amount of leads at the cheapest cost. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah, and I think the only reason I wanted to bring this up is sometimes it's good to determine what's going to work and what's not on the front, and especially when you're starting your ads. You may want to use and leverage this split test, which I like that it's set up like this, because normally you'll have to go in and create ad after ad after ad, but this will give you the ability to go through a vast majority of the ad creation in the campaign and ad set, and then maybe change some of the dynamics inside of the actual ad itself at the ad level. So, okay, so there's a question here. Tori said, so does this make the actual split test or tell you what criteria would reach more people? This, from my understanding, Tori, what this split test option does is it basically separates the ad dollars and tests them across multiple ad sets. And then from the results of that ad set, you will be able to identify, which one is reaching more. The funny thing about Facebook, obviously, is it has to have some time and ad dollars to determine whether or not it can create success, because it's not going to give you free information per se. But once you start running the ad sets, Mitch, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but once you start running the ad sets, that will help determine which one is the most successful. And there'll be numbers that will dictate which one is most successful. So you don't have to make an emotional decision based on the image. You can actually do an educated decision based on the actual ad set that is performing at the best level.
Yeah, that's exactly right. This will actually run both ad sets. So if you have two ad sets running at $20 a day each, they're both going to start at $20 a day and see which one performs better. And then if you hit this split test button, then it will start, let's say the first audience is doing better. It's going to start spending $30 a day on that one and $10 a day on the other one. Right. And slowly shift that budget over just to confirm that that one is in fact performing best. But yeah, you can see the numbers. Which one is getting the cheapest link clicks? Which one is getting the most engagement? Which one is getting the most conversions? You can see all that. So it's not an emotional decision.
Yep.
And it really is, like Ryan said, you have to start out with a split test, because you can guess all day long about the audiences that is going to work best. I can guess all day long about the audience that's going to work best. And I've managed over $200,000 of ad spend, but I still split test every time I start a new campaign. We still split test every single time, because it's there's a lot of reasons that play into why it doesn't work the same every time.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's hard to make assumptions, and that's the great thing about the ad products inside of Facebook is now you don't have to make assumptions. You can learn and do your market research based on the response of people that are trying to get back in, that you're trying to get your content in front of.
Yeah.
So, and the other cool thing, and I've heard this a lot lately when it comes to Facebook ad world, one thing you have to be careful of when you're running ads and creating them outside of this type of a context of split testing is a concept called audience overlap. And what the concept of audience overlap is that you're running the same audience to the same, or you're running the same two different ad sets to the same audience on two different ads instead of built into one split test. And as a result, Facebook diminishes the amount of reach and the success of that campaign because they don't want you to run all these different ads at the same, two audiences that are similar. They'd rather you split test, find out which one's working best, and then leverage that one.
Yeah, and the way that Facebook works is you would be basically competing against yourself. Like with Facebook ads, you're competing against everybody else that's trying to reach your same audience. So if you're reaching your same audience with two different ad sets, you're competing against yourself. All right, shall we wrap up with engagement right quick? There's really not that much changes.
Well, yeah, let's do it.
So engagement, the setup is pretty much exactly the same. But engagement, if we look at it, get more post engagements, page likes, or event responses, or offer claims. They took off offer claims from this. So post engagements, page likes, or event responses. This is really good. The time that we use it is not page likes and not event responses, but post engagements. We have a client that really, they just need to start a conversation with people and then they can take it from there. And so we're using post engagement campaigns with the idea to get people to comment, like, share, and create those conversations. And then as you have those conversations, you kind of self-guide them through the rest of the funnel, if you will. And so this is a really good campaign also if you want to just get social proof. That's one thing we've been talking about a lot about lately. Right or wrong, our world is very shallow. And we base our decisions based off the number of little smiley faces that are on a Facebook post. And the number of comments. We base our decisions off of that. And so using post engagement, you can play that to your advantage. You can get a lot of likes, a lot of comments and stuff with a post engagement campaign. So then that other people will see this and be like, oh, other people are doing it, so I should probably do it too. That's really what engagement is for, is to create conversation on your page and then also to create that social proof, which is very, very valuable because we are a shallow world.
I don't know if shallow is the right word, Mitch. I think the right word is probably we are more educated than we've ever been, and we want to receive value from those people that are providing value in the world. And we don't want to be bait and switched by a company that doesn't provide value long term.
Right, but we base the value. We think there's value because lots of people like the post. Like
Well,
there might not actually be value.
but here's the thing, and I think we all agree with this. The great thing about that is people that are gaining engagements are providing value to someone in the marketplace. I mean, it's for the most part, likes, comments, shares aren't some may be superficial, and I totally get that. Um, Jane, I appreciate that. We are followers. We are all just followers, sheep. That's true. But we will also gain value from those people that are putting the most value in the world, and that's how influencers become influencers. Now,
Yep.
what we're trying to say, and I think that Mitch, I think the point you're trying to bring across is if it's done in a superficial way, then we are more or less shallow people, or businesses are shallow in a way that drives that lack of engagement or lack of care for those people. But I think if you really have a keen interest in talking with your clients and understanding, an engagement inside the consideration campaign, an engagement campaign can be extremely beneficial. Now, that being said, I know we're a minute over, but one more point that I think we should bring up here. Facebook is changing the game to get away from those shallow businesses that are trying to get what they call engagement bait, or just trying to get people to engage based on promotions, based on things of that nature, where there's no additional value that's been provided throughout the process. So if you want to do a giveaway, if you want to do a big something or another, just be super, super sensitive to how you do that and the amount of value you're providing prior to running something like that. We've tested it and we've had some great results, but we found that we've gained more results, and we see this consistently. Going back to our initial conversation, we see more success on campaigns of people that are constantly posting and creating engagement and value for those people, because their engagements are higher because they know they're real, they know they care, they trust them, and so just be sensitive to that idea, and Mitch, I would agree to some extent that I agree 100% that we can be relatively shallow in nature by the metrics that we need in our mind to make decisions. But businesses that create the value and continue to provide value to their customers in a way that connects authentically with the customers will always grow faster than any other business in the marketplace. So that's the new world we live in. And we have to play the game in order to create the success. And whether that's increasing your likes on Facebook by providing value-based content, or whether that's increasing comments on our Facebook post because of the value we're providing, those are things that can lead to revenue for your business. So don't shy away from it. Like an engagement post, don't shy away from it. Recognize what it's for and have strategy going into it. I think that's one thing we always talk about, is you always have to have a strategy behind everything you're doing to maximize the ad dollars you're spending in the world of social media. So,
yeah.
We covered the three, Mitch, right?
Yep. Traffic and engagement, when to use them, how to use them, what type of content. The basis of the content is valuable. It does have to be valuable.
Yep.
What you can do today is set up a traffic or engagement campaign, whatever is going to be better for you. If you have a blog, then pick your best blog post and send traffic to that blog post. See the type of clicks you can get. If you want to do engagement, because there's absolutely value in creating that conversation. So set that up next week and report back to us next week. And if you have questions in the meantime, reach out to us. Next week, we are going to dive into a little bit of video views. We kind of already covered that, but more so lead generation and messages. A lot of cool stuff you can do with those two campaign objectives. So come back next week, same time, same channel, and it'll be just as awesome next week.
Thanks, guys, for your time. We really, really appreciate you being on here. And listen, if you know of someone that you feel could benefit from this as well, let me know. And we're happy to invite them to be on, send you the link. You're welcome to shoot me an email, Ryan at Strategic Social Partners. You can send it to Mitch at strategicsocialpartners.com. And we're happy to help facilitate the conversation and help you guys become better at what you do inside of your own business. So thanks again for coming by today, guys. And we will be back again, like Mitch said, next Thursday, 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time.